Partners in Ministry, a presentation of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation, dedicated to growing ministry support networks, introducing people to a cause that connects with their heart, bringing hope and encouragement to our communities as we seek together to serve as Christ served.
Welcome to Partners in Ministry. My name is Dan Smith, and today I'll be talking with Felicia Carter. Felicia is the founder and executive director of the Center of Attention Community Resource Center in Waterloo, Iowa. In this interview, we're going to talk about perseverance, what it is, how to engage it in life experiences, what it produces on the other side, and more. Well, welcome, Felicia, and thanks for joining me today.
Well, thank you, Dan, for having me.
You know, it doesn't take long in our adult lives before we run into challenges or periods of waiting that can produce anxiety or uncertainty or worry. Now, one of the key character traits that helps us through these times is perseverance. So, what is perseverance?
Perseverance to me is just to continue moving forward, even though life throws you a curve. There's some difficulties that you have to face, some mountains that you have to climb. That's how I would describe perseverance, just to continue on in my efforts to do the work of God.
Sure. Yeah. And sometimes that's not all that easy.
No, it's not.
Yeah. How do you see perseverance differing from patience?
Well, um, let me see, how do I view patience versus perseverance? Um, so patience to me is like being able to wait for outcomes to happen. Perseverance to me is to persevere when you don't know what or the outcomes are not going your way.
Sure.
That's where I see the difference.
So, in a way, patience implies a time of maybe not doing something until it becomes appropriate to act, whereas perseverance is just keep going, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how you feel like you want to quit. Don't, but just keep going, keep keeping on.
Yes.
Is that kind
Hmm.
of what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are there benefits to persevering? I mean, why should we persevere?
I think if we don't, then we will never know what our efforts can produce if we just give up. So on the other side of persevering is there's there's this, I would say a reward, because if I don't, then it's like I didn't gave up on faith.
Mm,
And if I do, whatever that outcome is, even though I may think it's impossible, if I do it, there's a possibility that the outcome is going to be favorable. So if I don't do it, it's like I am like, um, I don't know what God can do through me
mm,
or for me if I don't persevere.
sure, sure. So God allows things to come into our lives that are challenging, um, that take a lot of effort, and He promises us that He will do something, or there's something waiting for us on the other end of that challenge, or on the other end of that situation. So perseverance is then what, if I'm understanding you, then is what allows us to get through to get that reward at the end, for
Yeah.
the challenge to complete the work that it needs to do to make me a better me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, are How what are some practical ways that we can engage perseverance in our daily living? What are some things that you have found that have helped you?
What I found that helped me is I go to biblical scriptures, and I have to remember who I am, and I always say that all things are possible through God who
Mm,
strengthens me. That is probably one of my favorites. And then also, No weapons formed against me shall prosper. So when I'm feeling like defeated or that it's just too big of a load, I have to remember that, God designed me, created me for a purpose. And sometimes I don't know exactly what that purpose is on a day-to-day basis because I know, my purpose is to help, that other human being, right?
Huh?
And that everything that I go through is not just really for me to benefit from, but for somebody else that comes along after I go through, a situation and to let them know how I got through.
Sure. I know at the Center of Attention there in Waterloo, you work a lot with families, sometimes single moms, people who are in the midst of going through some of these challenges. What have you seen has been the most beneficial thing to help them there at the center?
Um, my my thing is I believe that my story of, drug addiction, um, I can relate to, I can take that experience because then when I think about it and what I've learned over the years, that, my drug use was just a symptom,
Mm,
right? And that I continually, even after 32 years, I still have to like call on the Lord and put my one feet in front of the other. So it's like there's nothing that I believe that we go through that isn't used for, the greater good. Like, I think about this Bible verse, what was meant for evil, God
mm,
turned it for good. And so it's like if all my suffering and not just the drug use, but mistreatment from other people, being marginalized or, having the stigma of being, an addict. That's what I remember when I work with people is that, it's no longer tolerated. Like I can overcome, but I have to continue and persevere. Like I can't stop just because I don't do drugs anymore, that I have to continue to make my life better so then I can help other people to find and want to make their lives better, that they want to. So it's like what all the experience that I went through up until like today, I can help somebody else. So that person that's coming through the door, if they're struggling because they don't have enough money to do, to buy the essentials, because they have spent all their money, trying to pay rent. Well, we have a closet of those essential items and hygiene items that will help them. And so it's like, I don't feel embarrassed because I was a single mom. And, at one time I was working a job that was, you know, minimum wage or not even, above minimum wage. And I had to reach out for help. I believe if God didn't want us to help other people, He would have put us on an island by ourselves and had all our needs and some of our wants met. And so I just believe that, my experience as a mother, as a single mom, a single mom that went to school to get a college degree, if I can do it, I encourage everybody to do it.
sure. So it sounds like perseverance works much better in a community setting than it does on a one than on a lone person on an island all by yourself. It sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I hear you talk about, and not just this time, but in many of our conversations, one of the things that stands out to me about you is how important being able to share your life story with others helps encourage them. And then in turn, when you see the people that you're sharing your life with begin to find victories in their life, it then encourages you to continue through whatever challenge you may be going through at a time, because that becomes the next story that you're going to turn right around and tell them, and that's going to encourage them, and they're going to encourage you. And it's kind of like this neat little cycle that happens that actually builds wonderful community through perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
And what's also interesting is that those things can't be shaped through good times. They can only be shaped through challenges. No challenges, no perseverance. No perseverance, no growth. No growth, no maturity. It's really interesting how that whole thing works.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah. Well, if there was one thing that you would want to tell the listeners about the importance and how to persevere, what would you like to leave with them before we go?
So I would like to leave with, the listening audience to not give up. Just continue, because what we don't realize, and I am finding this out, you know, throughout my journey, is there's times when I don't think God is listening. I don't think God is doing enough. And it's like, then I have to realize is, well, you know what? He ain't on your time, you know? And so it's like, but to continue forward no matter what, because I am finding that when he does show up, he shows out. He shows me that he has been listening. It's just that I have to be patient and persevere in everything, that way I can be that opportunity of accepting or getting that blessing will come. If we give up, we'll never know what he can do. And I'm telling you, he does more than I ask. He will make a situation that I went through, and the outcome will be so much sweeter than I even imagined. So I would
Mm.
just say, continue, believe that, God is, I can say that he's a father, he's a protector, he's a provider, and so many other things, because he have shown me. And so if he shows me, he can show every and anybody else.
Amen. Amen. Those are great
Mm.
words of encouragement. Appreciate that, Felicia. I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and for being vulnerable and just sharing, from your life experiences. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, if you've got any questions or if you'd like to learn more about perseverance or for the center of attention, you can see Felicia's contact information here on the screen. Do not hesitate to call this sister. She really does care and she really wants to be available to help in any way that she can. You can also find it in the show notes for this episode on our website, or you can find it in the description of this YouTube video. So again, thank you for joining me today, Felicia. Really appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining me. And until next time, let's get out there and serve as Christ serves.
This has been a presentation of Partners in Ministry, a podcast of Josiah White's Quakerdale Foundation. To learn more and see the show notes for this and other episodes, visit our website,